Anyways, let's get started. Whoever's late is just late. So let me tell you about what you're going to learn today. Today, of course, we can't cover everything because we're online and everything's live. So keep in mind that as I'm removing background, I might not do it with the details. I might not show you every detail, but you'll have enough to know and go from here and start making your own graphics and logos and things like that. And then if you join the Business Masterminds group, then we can further the conversation and do a question and answer. And yes, I'm on Instagram. I am Nina Simone Consulting. Thank you for asking. So today you're going to find out how to use any font in designs. I'm going to show you a couple of go-to websites that I use, but there's tons of them out there. Just make sure that it's a secure site. So I try to stick with those two. And there's a couple other ones I'll tell you about. You don't want to just be downloading anything from anywhere. And whoever is inboxing me on Facebook, I'm ignoring you right now. You're going to be able to create a professional logo, and I'm going to give you some tips on that because I know people think logos are overwhelming, and but you want to make sure you're staying true to your brand, and it's actually easy to do, but you want to really put time into it. We're going to nip and tuck your images. This is a great feature, especially if you're doing like your own at-home photo shoot, kind of like I do with a little background, and and you just want to nip and tuck and fix a couple of things before you post it. I'm also going to show you two or three ways to remove and replace background. One is a little bit more invasive, and the other one is kind of a quick and dirty way to do it. And then I'm going to teach you a couple of other things. So make sure you stay to the end because I am giving out a free course. It is actually, and I can't remember how many modules it is, but it's Facebook ads. I know there's a lot of you that jumped on the Canva course from my Facebook ad, and there's a couple even from this course that have jumped on my Facebook ads. So I have a course that takes you everywhere from determining who you should kind of promote to, how to narrow it down, why you shouldn't use boost. There's like 3 levels of Facebook ads, and at the end I will be giving away one course to someone. So stay to the end, please. Okay, so it's typical that you have to kind of talk about yourself on these things. So I'm going to do a very quick about me, and then we're going to move on. Let me just show my desktop. Give me a second. It's going to look weird for just a second, and then I'll move it over here. Sorry. Okay. About me. So I am from California. I'm from Northern California, the Bay Area. So not Hollywood, not Los Angeles. I'm from up here in Northern California. So where the water is with Oakland and San Francisco. And I'm actually from Hayward, which is in California Bay Area. So people get that confused a lot, but I'm from the Bay Area. I've worked at law firms, and I did a lot of my technical work and had every kind of job in IT at the law firm, from designing internal websites to testing to IT manager, QA, administrator of the, of training. I was coaching. That's where I really fell in love with training and coaching, and figured how much I loved kind of taking what I knew as a nerdy, geeky girl and sharing it with the partners. And I traveled a lot training for Wilson Sonsini, Goodrich, and Rosati. Then I moved over to World Savings, which I became a training manager there, and we started an IT team, and we traveled all over the United States teaching salespeople who basically took their laptops and threw it in the drawer how to use it. And we taught them, I taught them how to turn it on. Some people didn't know how to really turn it on. Left click versus right click, how to create sales material, how to, go online and search for things, anything that you needed to know about sales. I was actually teaching them, graphics, whether it's creating flyers, creating templates for emails, all kinds of things. Anything that had to do with computers, we were teaching them. I also taught courses, how to create websites. Back then we were using Dreamweaver and Front Page and all of that, and how to create databases and how to do administrative work. Everything from how to send an email, how to address it, how to do business reports. So World Savings gave me a lot of training experience, and I had to do basically everything. And so I did technical training for about 8 years altogether. And during that time, I joined DPR and I became an ITSM, which was basically you are you focus on processes and making sure the processes are going well. At that time, me and my best friend, whose head is cut off, started a company called Bad Girl Gear. And what we did is she was a director at a school, and she handled all the administrative work. She handled the financial things, all of the legal things for our business, and I did the designs and the marketing. And so we got models, we had contests, we did, I think Nadia might be on the call. There are a couple of people might be on the call, but we did fashion shows, all kinds of things. And it actually got a lot bigger than we expected, a lot faster than we expected. So this was a Zumba instructor. This was a trainer. This was one of our models. We did all kinds of model searches. Bad Girl, BAD, standard for bringing attitude and determination to your healthy lifestyle. So we thought that was cute. And so, yeah, we did a lot of different things, a lot of different designs and contests. We had Zumba things. She worked out a deal where we were doing the Sacramento State Fair. So that was really when I really got into designing. These are just a couple of them, but we were doing shirts and shows for all kinds of people in California. That's my mom when she retired, wearing our shirts, and some more of our models. So any kind of fitness gear, we were doing that. It was that time, and I couldn't find my old logo, but that I was asked to do some logos and wedding programs and websites and things like that for other people. And that kind of started me getting into social media a lot more. I started traveling with a group called Urban Professionals, met a wonderful group of people that convinced me I had to be in Atlanta because that's where every business person is. And that's when I came to Atlanta. And that's how Nina Simone Consulting was formed. Okay, so enough of that. Let's actually get into the training. If I could close this. Okay. Give me 1 second to pull everything up. Now, we did have a question about PicMonkey, and let me just make sure real quick. Everybody can still hear me and see me, right? And I am going to load my PicMonkey link. So PicMonkey is a free service. I just loaded a link. It will open in a separate window, so you're okay to click on that if you want to click on it. But PicMonkey is a free service. I'm going to go to the website now. And again, you can just click on the link that I provided. Okay. You'll notice that I have a login. You do not have to have a login. It's just something that for me, since I do have the, I think it's called Royale membership, I'm able to log in. Unlike Canva, for those of you that do use Canva, there is no option to save online. So just remember, everything you do, when you save it, you want to make sure that you're done with it. And if you want to come back and maybe do some templates, like sometimes I do all my backgrounds and save them and then open them up and edit them because I don't want to lose kind of my space and I want to be able to reuse those templates. But it is a free site. If you do want to upgrade it, basically what it does is it gives you some additional features in there, and I'll show you how to kind of figure that out. There's these little crowns, and the link that I just published actually gives you 1 or 2 weeks free, and after that it's like $2.95. Sometimes they have specials for $2.95. Otherwise it's $4.95 a month. Okay, so what you're able to do is edit images, and they do have some that you could play around with, so you don't have to mess up your own. You could open it from your computer, Facebook, etc. Scroll over because there's more. And then if you go to Touchup, that's up, and that's not what I'm trying to do right now. There's Touchup here where you can, again, use their images to start out with, so you don't necessarily have to use your own initially if you're just trying to play around with it. Then there's design. A lot of times I start here, and then collage. And you'll see I made a collage for today's training, so you'll be able to see how that works. Okay. So before we start, I do want to kind of give you some examples of some logos, because before you start anything, you do want to look at the logos that are existing. And I know you guys see these all the time, but I want to kind of emphasize a couple of things. So let me just bring up something. Give me a second. Okay. So one of the things that we forget is that logos can be very simple. Home Depot only has 2 colors, and they keep the theme of their brand. Everything's about do it yourself. If you look at the uniforms, if you look at their locations, even their Facebook, their kids' workshop, let's do this, everything down to their buckets, it's all very simple with the 2 colors. They chose a really good font, and they basically have a square. Couple of tips about your logo when you create it is you want to use SMARTS, SMARTS. So you want to keep it simple. You want to make sure it's memorable. You want to make sure it's appropriate for your brand. In other words, if you are focusing on something for, say, a nonprofit, where you're giving hope to people, you may not want to have like a dark black and dark burgundy logo or things like that. You want to think about the mood that it's giving out. You want to make sure it's the reflection of your ideal client. So you want to make sure it's appealing to them. Make sure it's timeless. So you don't want to go with trendy things that everybody's doing right now. And you also want to make sure it's social media approved. And what I mean by that is make sure that if you have to resize it and put it on Instagram or Facebook, that it's clearly seen and that you don't have a bunch of words in here and really, really messy logos. So just keep those in mind. Okay, so that's that. And then the next brand I want to show you is MAC. Again, 2 colors, right? They keep that throughout their brand, in their store, what they wear. Even if they have color in the background, it's always the black and white. So they stay consistent. And then the last one I want to bring up is Macy's. Same thing on their websites. Even if they switch it out, they still have the same branding all over. So make sure that you keep with your branding. So the colors you choose, the logo that you create, you want to make sure you're able to use that throughout your brand, your branding when you post on social media and other places. Okay, I'm gonna look for questions really quick. Okay, everyone could hear me. Jesse, if you're having sound problems, try to log in and log out and log back in. And Carmen, yes, I did send that pop-up for PicMonkey. I'll be sending a couple things as I talk about things. I'm going to send them in the group so you guys don't have to go search for them. If you click on the link, then it will open in a different window. So that should be fine. Okay, so back to PicMonkey. So let me just check my list real quick. So before you actually create your design, you do want to pick your logos, and there's different ways to do it. So I'm going to start a design here, and I'm going to go to square. For me, that's just the easiest way to start. There's different sizes. You can customize it. I'll show you a little bit later. One thing you always want to do is you want to change the canvas color to transparent, and you'll see these little squares. The reason why is you may want to overlay that or watermark that on other pictures. And if you have, say, a white or pink background, it's not going to shine through on your images. Also, it's easier when you're putting them on branding for, say, ebooks or checklists or anything like that. So make sure you always have a transparent background. Okay, and so that was just under the first option there, basic edits. And I want to show you that here you have your text that you can choose from, and PicMonkey actually has a lot of text, and you'll see this crown indicating you have to have the upgraded version to use it. So that you'll see that throughout PicMonkey, but you also have this tab that says yours. So these are all the fonts that I've actually selected myself. And I am going to show you how I did that. So I'm going to shoot something else to you. I'm going to close this. And then show you a couple websites. Okay. My favorite place to get fonts is dafont, DAFONT.com. One of the reasons is it's they have unique fonts and they have these categories that really help you, but also as you're picking your fonts, so I just clicked on cartoon, I can type in what I'm gonna write and it'll show me a preview. So today we're gonna do something for Jessica Sky. You could choose how many fonts that you wanna look at and all these other things and click on submit. I'm not gonna spend too much time on here because I'm pretty sure you guys can all figure that out. So again, you could just look through it. Okay, and there's different ones that you can choose. In my Canva course, I go over kind of font pairings on module 2, just very briefly. So we talk about this a little bit and we go through fonts. But this is where you find them. You do want to kind of look at the licensing because when you look on the right-hand side, it will let you know if it's free or if you have to contact the creator. But basically, you just download. It downloads a zip file. So mine looks like this. Most computers have a zip file where you can unzip the file. It's just kind of compressing it. And I'm just going to open the folder real quick. It showed up on my other screen. The easiest way to do it is once you find it, you're going to have a TFF file. Sometimes you have an OFF or OFT, I believe it is. Depending on if you have a Mac or a PC, you just double click. And again, it came up in my other screen. And you click on install. Okay. When you're using PicMonkey, when you install, and basically when you install, that's all you do. The only thing about installing is you want to make sure you close your window first and reopen it or it won't show up. For me, I'm not going to use that font, so it doesn't matter right now. But that's basically how you find your first, one way to find fonts. Another way is Google Fonts. And the same thing kind of applies. They have the different things where you can kind of select and filter out for different fonts that you find. And you can use your filters, you can find scripts, different things like that. So you can find different fonts there. And I think I filtered out a little bit too much. The difference between using dafont and Google Fonts is if you have a WordPress site or even most websites, you basically can use Google Fonts. WordPress has an add-in or plugin where you can use any font. So then you could keep your branding consistent from your logo to your website. Dafont, most of these can't be used on websites. Some of them can, but these are people who've created them and there are limitations. So there are some plugins for that also, but they haven't worked well for me. So again, if you want to use the same font on your website, you can actually choose Google Fonts, or you can do a combination. So maybe you have your logo like this and you have a couple of extra fonts that you're selecting from Google Fonts that you can use on your website. I'm going to pause there for a second and just see if there are any questions. Tara, I'm going to mark your question for a little bit later and I'll come back to that. Okay, so I think that's all the questions for now. So the next, once you install your fonts, you come back here. Again, you can use these. I'm just going to create one for Jessica Sky. So I'm going to start off with, and I have to remember which one used in my example. I think I use a Valdemir or something like that. Yes. So I'm just going to start with typing her name. And as you know, some people have very simple fonts where it's just their name. But I'm going to combine a couple fonts. And it's probably hard to see. I'm actually going to change the background just so you guys can see that when I click on it, there are these little corners where I could resize to make it smaller or bigger. This box comes up so I can change the color. I could change the size, etc. And we'll go over these a little bit more. I'm going to keep it on the left-hand side. One of the things is, since you are creating a font, at the top right, you want to change the size of this. So it's the image setting for the size, and not necessarily the size as far as how you save it, but you always hear about pixels and you want to have high quality. So this gives you a chance to make it high quality for your logo. I'm not going to do that right now since I am doing a recording and I don't want to slow the computer down or anything like that. So I'm going to leave it there. But usually for my images, I go ahead and just choose King Kong because I don't care about the size that it's taking up or it being slow. I just want to make sure it's the best. So for now, we'll just leave it there. So I'm going to have Jessica Sky. And so I'm going to go back to the text and I'm going to use theirs. And there was another one here that I wanted to use. Let's see which one I chose. Okay. Trying to figure out the one that, okay, it's channel. Okay, so this is kind of a funky combination, but you could do something that's a little softer and hard, one that's has hard ends, or that one that is serif and sans serif, etc. But you could do different font combinations. So that's where you're starting off at. I'm going to take this back off. Okay, now I'm going to go to overlays. So again, with overlays, let me just send this to you also. There is a place where you can find overlays, or you can use, and I'm going to display that on your screen now so you can visit there. I would suggest you go in here and start looking for some vector files. And I'm going to give you an example before I start searching so you can see what I mean. Basically, vector files means it uses shapes to create the image. So if you look, there's all these different shapes that you can use to go along with your logo. Some of these make sense. Some of them probably won't fit. So I'm just going to collapse those and show you some down at the bottom that will work better for logos. I think I just, there it goes. So for my logo, I use grunge. This is for one of my logos for the Socially Nina, not the Nina Simone Consulting, but I used grunge, and I basically picked my color. So on the right-hand side, first I choose the outside color, and I'm just typing in the hex number because I know it. I'll show you a way to find it. So this is the outside. This is the inside where you're filling it in. Right? And then I put the text on it. So I'm going to drag this here just to show you one way to do it. And I am going to right click and do send to back. And so for me, mine has white text, etc. So that's something simple. There's other ones here. So the Victorian labels, again, some of these are the paid version. I'm just going to pull a couple so you can see the difference in these. And then there's also corners and garnishes. So the corners, I keep on seeing, I would advise you not to use the corners in here because I've seen tons of logos with these corners out there. And actually, I'm going to choose another one. And I'll show you in just a second. Okay. So one way we can do this is I can change the color here. And if I don't have say I have a picture that I'm going off of and I don't know what color it is, I can choose my own overlay. So I'm going to go to the top, go to your own, and today she's going to be Jessica Sky. So I'm going to click on the bar here. Usually you'll see either the bar or the paint dropper. So I'm going to click on there. And if I want to choose a color, so I have it here, and you'll see that it changed there, and you could just write that color down, which I'm doing right now. I'm going to delete her. And then you can actually change the color of your items. I think I skipped, oops. Hold on. I skipped a number. So we're going to act like I remember the correct number, and it was that picture, that color. But we're just going to choose a color here. I wrote it down incorrectly. But basically, you write the number down there, and then you can use these for the backgrounds, right? You just keep on doing the size, and then you want to choose your colors until it actually fits. Okay, so these are kind of plain ones. I'm going to delete that one, and I'm going to go over to PicMonkey. So if I go here and I go to vector graphics, you could be on here all day. So I'm going to go to decorative corners. And if you look through, you'll see there's different ones here. You can go to symbols. Whatever's here, you can basically download flowers, whatever it is, shoes, whatever images that you need. And that is not shoes. So there you go. Okay, so there's different things that you can use for your logo. Just spend some time in here looking. And of course, you don't want a picture. You want like a vector file to add to your logo and things like that. And to download here, it is free. And they ask you to just type in that number and it downloads. Or you can, they give, basically, quote unquote, give coffee, and you could donate if you'd like. So, and it's just not, there's other things there besides vector graphics. There's photos and other things. You can narrow it down by color, transparency, all of that. So spend some time there. For this training, I'm just going to do something really, really quick so you get the idea. I do want to show you kind of what I've been seeing a lot with these files is people are just, you kind of just do this. I'm going to right click and duplicate. And then on my bar here, I could switch it. You just click on each one. You can kind of play around with that. Okay. I'm going to delete those. There's other things here. So there's banners. There's all kinds of different items here that you can use. And you put it together with your different fonts, even if it's something simple like this. And just deciding with your colors, your fonts, and your files, kind of how you want to do it. I'm going to do something really quick. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to look at the chat to see if there's questions. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, I'm going to change this to white. And the same with this, the text. And it's kind of hard to select after you add something, and I'll show you how to kind of go around that in a little bit. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, you guys can hear me. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go here. Let me just do this so I can see. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick, whatever color that's going to be is just what it's going to be. So I'm going to apply the transparency. You could crop it. Just let you know there are determined crops here. So for instance, your avatar, so images that you use on Facebook and Instagram, timeline, desktop, iPhone, just different things. So for now, I don't need any of that. I'm just going to do my own cropping. Oops. And one thing you want to make sure is that it is even. So I'm just going to type in here 1278. And then 12. Oops. Okay, then I know that it's even. So if I post it anywhere and just apply, and there you go. When you save it, you do want to make sure that you save it as a PNG file, not a JPEG. If you save it as a JPEG, then it will be white in the background. And you want it to be clear, the transparent color. And make sure you name it with exactly what it is, because if you upload it to WordPress or anywhere else, it is searchable. So you want to make sure you say something like Jessica Sky logo. Okay, you can change the dimensions, but we're going to leave exactly what we had. Just going to save it. You could save it to your computer or wherever you want to save it. We're going to do Jessica Sky logo 2 because I already have that. Okay, so again, I went through that really, really quick, but pick your fonts, pick your colors. You can choose it from other things. You can go and find some vector files, keep it simple, and try not to be too trendy. You just want to make sure it's something that's timeless. Any questions so far? Yes, I was late. Have you covered anything else besides logos? Nope. We're still on logos, and we're getting ready to move on now. So you're just in time. Okay. So I'm going to close it. I'm going to click on X. Don't click on back in PicMonkey because it takes you out of PicMonkey completely. Do we have any questions? I'm going to wait for just a second before I do the next thing. And the next thing is actually touching up images. Okay, I'm going to go to Touchup here, not edit, Touchup. And I'm going to make this quick. Again, you want to spend more time than I'm spending on this. And we're going to act like this is Jessica Sky. On the right-hand side, I can zoom in, right? And there's tons of items under, sorry, I know you guys, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog choking over there. Okay, so there's tons of things under this little lipstick called Touchup. And I'm just gonna tell you, just like regular life, you do your makeup last. And I'm just gonna pick out a couple of things. So they have, again, with the crown, it means that it is something that is a royal membership. But I'm just gonna, you can change the brush size, right? And depending on the fade, that's how strong it is. So for instance, here, if I just do this side and take away, it's pretty strong. But if I do the fade, see how it kind of took it away? So you can determine how much you want to take away. So it looks a little more natural. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the fade down. I'm gonna do this really quickly. I'm gonna go under her eyes, around her neck. And if you mess up, you do have ways of going up here and you could do undo. And there's a couple other things I'll show you in a little bit. I'm just gonna do this really quick. And normally you would spend a little bit more time, but we don't have a lot of time in here. Okay, so I'm just gonna take away some of her wrinkles. And then it's obvious that she needs teeth whitening. So you can pick the brush size, but you can, again, with the fade, you could say if you don't want it like all the way white, you just want it maybe off-white, you can do that. And I told you if you do a mistake, so say I accidentally get her lip, I can go to this eraser and it puts it back the way it was. Okay, take that off, continue to do this. And then you get the idea there. There's a couple other things. So there is airbrush, which kind of smooths all of the color in. And again, you want to use smaller brushes, things like that. I'm just doing it really, really quick to make sure you see kind of the effect. And you always want to apply before you move on. There's spray tan. Make sure you don't make it too dark because you can tell the difference. So you don't want it to make it too dark. And you don't want to go on the eyes. I'm going to cancel that. But you can kind of change the intensity so it's a little bit less. And change the color so it matches her skin tone a little bit more. And just make it a little bit more bronzy. Okay, just kind of going through these quickly. So the eye brightener that you see here, this is for the whites of your eyes. Hers is pretty white, but if you have like drown out eyes or like red marks, there's the eye brightener. There's also the eye tint. So you can change your own eye color, or if you keep the fade up, it kind of just brightens it up a little bit instead of being outlandish. And again, I can apply. David, I didn't really match her skin color. I've done this because I've been practicing a little bit. So basically, you just kind of play with it until you press apply. It doesn't really matter. So like even if I made a mistake and started doing this, if I do cancel, I could do cancel, or I can just start choosing the colors. See the brush size, I could do the intensity and turn that down. So you can kind of play with that until you get the color right. And then you see like that might be a little bit better for her. And then you just keep on going. So, and you don't want to go all the way up here, but it's just easier if you start with like a one blotch or two, and then you kind of go back and color it in after. Good question. Let me look and see if there's any other questions. Yes, Akira, what I'll do is I'll send out an email with the SMARTS acronym after. So I will mark that as a question. So I send that out for your logo. Okay. That is also a good question. So I'm going to do, I just want to point out a couple of big ones that they have here. So I'm going to go down to weight loss is good. I wish you could move it over a little bit more because I'm going to show you it always starts like when you're almost done. So you can make someone a little bit chubbier or a little bit thinner, which I did, but it always starts like over here. So what you can do is use nip tuck. And again, I could zoom in more over here and I could move it to an area that I want to work on. So I'm going to work down here. So again, I'm just dragging over here on your right hand side. The melt I use last, excuse me, reduce, it kind of pulls it in, and then the fill is the plump. So, you know, you see people who kind of plump up their lips and other things on Instagram, and then they kind of pull in their waist. This is one of the ways that they can do it. So I know you've seen it where the background is showing, so be careful when you're doing this. So I could plump up her lips. This kind of works a little bit. I'm going to do the strength all the way up. You have to watch the way you stroke. Like these, I kind of click on it, and you want to be zoomed in probably more than I am now. And you probably want to be a little bit smaller, but again, for sake of time, I'm not going to do that. But you want to you could plump out her lips. And it's just like the other items where if you do it in the wrong place, you can come back here and use the eraser to revert it. But, okay. And there's something weird going on here, so I'm going to leave that. but we can always come back and airbrush it after. So after you're doing all of your little, you know, kind of tests and changes, come back and you could airbrush it so it looks a little better. Yeah, the wrinkle feature, I'm looking at the questions. The wrinkle feature is awesome. So for under the eyes and things like that, I think that's one of the best ones. So I'm going to leave that. What I do with Nip Tuck is I apply each one because it kind of comes in a group. So if I undo it or something doesn't work, I'll have to start over. So I already did the plumper. Now I'm going to do the cutting one. And I'm going to turn the strength down a little bit, but hopefully you guys can see this. When I move it, it pulls in. And actually I should do the strength a little bit more. You'll probably be able to see it more. So let's try her neck. There you go. With her neck, you could see it's kind of pulling in. I'm gonna kind of exaggerate so you can see what I'm doing. But you know, of course you want to be kind of, it takes a little bit of time. I always use a mouse when I'm doing this because on the computer keypad, it doesn't work very well. I'm gonna do her cheeks a little bit. And you're just kind of pulling it in. Okay, so again, not going to spend too much time. I'm going to apply that. The melt works well, but it doesn't do a lot from what I saw. So it kind of blurs everything, but the melt is the same thing. It kind of melts it together like the cutting. So it's kind of pulling it in, and you can go back and airbrush this a little bit later. So, okay, I'm not going to spend that much time on that. I'm looking for questions. How do you get it from looking so cloudy? This is the quality of this image. This is a very low quality image, but I just wanted to pick somebody you guys knew and that had yellow teeth. And plus I'm zoomed in 269%. So if I go back to 100%, you can't see it. The other thing is I'm doing this very, very quickly and very, very messy. So when you do it, you want to use caution and do it slowly. It's going to take some time. It's not going to take the 30 seconds that I did it. Okay, okay, I think I answered all the other stuff. Okay, so again, you take your time. I'm doing it really, really fast. Even her lip looks a little distorted. Nip tuck highlights. I'm going to show you the hair real quick where you can, if I can find it. There is whiskers. If we want to give her a beard, we can do that. I'm going to give her highlights. And you can choose the color up here. You can choose other pink colors, all that. I'll do the pink just so you guys can see kind of what it does. Let's cancel. But for her, she is blonde. So you might just want to change the intensity. I'm going to fade it a little bit so it's not so intense. You're just kind of giving her highlights and brightening up the picture. Okay. Again, I'm going very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to do too much. Okay, so one other thing, it doesn't apply to this picture, but I just want to show you, is you can clone things. This is good when you have backgrounds like sky or something that's missing. So you basically choose what you want to copy. So I'm going to choose this side. And then where you want to copy it. And I'm just going to show you so you see as I paint, it just copies the picture. Again, this isn't a good example because it's a person, but you can actually do this for backgrounds that's missing, or if there's someone in the picture that you might want to cut out with the background, that's one way you can do it. We don't really have enough time to go through it, but play around with that. It's here and it's somewhere. I think it's in one of the themes or something like that as well. So kind of play around with that. Really quick, let's do her makeup, and I'm not going to take much time to do this. This is a good time for you guys to start writing your questions so I can come back to it. Okay, so this is her eyeliner. I'm going to add her eyeliner. It's pretty good. And you can do it top and bottom. Okay, just going to apply that. Mascara, I don't know how this works, but it's kind of awesome. Oh, it's not that big. We don't want her to have raccoon eyes. So it adds like little things up here. Same thing with lip tint. This is a really, her lips are a very bad example to do with because she's kind of turned to the side and it's hard to brush it. But again, I'm going to do it really, really fast. Change the intensity and the hardness. If you look to your left as I'm doing this, give you some time to look. If I go here, you can see how it is. So if I do this, and actually let's make it a little bit bigger so you could see. Too big. Okay, so if the hardness is all the way up, it's a perfect circle, right? But if I change it here, you could see even as I slide it, then it makes it a little softer so you can kind of fill it in a little bit more. So I'm going to undo it. So for her lips, I would, turn it down, maybe have a smaller brush size and kind of fill it in as you're doing it and zoom in. I'm not going to do her lips because even when I was practicing, it's kind of hard because the way hers was turned and it would take too much time. But that is the idea. There's a lot more up here. Again, blemish fix. You can take away moles and zits and things like that. Shine, but you all get the idea of kind of how to use this, kind of play around with it. And remember that you do want it to look realistic, so you don't want to do too much, but it's a good tool to play around with. Also want to let you know that right here, you can kind of separate it by what you're doing. So it's just at the top, you can do that. Also, right above it, there's effects. So if I go to effects, you can kind of do different things and play around in here. Again, it's too much to go through in this training, but this is, sometimes you could bypass doing all of those extra things. This is kind of like your filter on Instagram. Okay, I'm gonna look at questions. Yes, so at home, I'm using like a regular old school mouse, but if you have a mouse with the trackball, it's a lot easier to use and to touch up. Can you change photos in the animation with PicMonkey? I don't understand that question, Janelle. Can you clarify that just a little bit? Okay, I'll come back to that. Okay, so you can do eyebrows and all of that kind of stuff. We're gonna skip that because I'm looking at the time. It's about 9:59 now. And I'm gonna show you a couple other things. Go ahead and put your questions in. Okay, so remember, I went to Touchup for that. For the logo, I went to design. I'm just gonna do a quick side-by-side before and after so you guys can see, and I wanna show you how, just a couple of tips. So if I go to custom, I'm gonna put in my size. This is the size I know I use for creating YouTube covers. So you can do your own custom size if you know the actual size of the picture. Okay, so that's one. I don't care about the background this time. I'm gonna go to overlays, and I just wanna show a comparison of before and after and add my logo. So this is the before, right? And I'm going to choose my after from earlier from my example that I played around with because it looks a little bit better, even though I rushed on that one too. You can flip the picture, so I can take this and flip it this way. Okay. I don't need all this space, so I can go up to crop. And actually crop it here. Just gonna apply. You can make a cartoon. I'll show you that. I see the question there. This last one, if you go to themes, there's comic heroes. And depending on the strength and all of that kind of stuff that you use, I forgot how to do, oh, and you know what? You have to do it in a different mode. So let me finish what I'm doing and we'll come back to that. But yeah, there's different themes over here. that you could use to make, make it look like a comic. And there's different things that you can actually add to it. So that is a good question. So I'm going to go back to, I lost my place. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to go back here. I'm trying to figure out what I was going to do. Okay. I'm going to add some text to it. And I wanted to show you guys this because it gets to be a lot when you start doing layers and overlays. So if I go to, I want to use my same branded colors that I used with her earlier. The most recent fonts that I use are at the top. So I can go like this and I can add text. And to answer your question, Nadia, this is kind of how I do my YouTube videos, is I pick a picture and I do a collage and then I add text over it. So you'll see that now. I'm going to go ahead and type in before. I want it to be white, even though I know it's going to be hard to see. I'm going to show you a trick. Oops. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. I was trying to click on the text, and I clicked on the background. So I'm going to delete the text for now and show you how you can stop it from moving around. And you do this when you have the background exactly how you want. And this is usually the point where I save it separately so I can reuse it, but I might do this. And what I do is at the top right-hand corner, I do combine all elements. It flattens it to kind of make it a background. So now I'm clicking, but it's really not doing anything. It's not moving, but for me, it'd be good as I add other things. You can undo it, but just make sure you're at a point where this is, this is the background you want. And I usually save it here. And Trey, if you're on the phone, this is one of the things that I was telling you before. You kind of save your template so you can come back and reuse them if you have the background the way you want it. Okay, let's make this quick. This is before. And say you get the color the way you want it, the size. Couple of things down here, there's blend modes. So if you want to try to make it blend in, or if you want to try to make it look a little bit different, and actually it's not doing anything, so I need to click on it. There's different options, so kind of play around with those. I'm going to leave it normal right now. I'm going to duplicate it because I have it exactly how I want. And then I'm just going to put after. And to make it stand out a little bit more, I'm going to go over to the effects. I'm going to close all of these because I don't need any of these. The pencil one is my best friend. I'm going to share it with you, even though I don't want everybody doing it now. Okay. So remember the brush size and the hardness. So if I do it right now, it's just going to be a big old dot, right? I don't want that. Change the hardness all the way to 0. And I'm going to pick the size that it's basically about the same as a font size. I'm going to use the color picker and choose the color of her shirt. And then what I'm going to do is kind of spray paint behind it so it pops out a little bit more. And you don't have to use the same color that's behind it, but for me, for this one, we're just going to do that so it kind of pops out a little bit. And I'm going to press apply. White code, Stacy, to get white, it's 6 Fs, F. Black is 6 zeros. But also things like that, you can just, when you click on here, you can choose white or black or whatever up here. So those are pretty easy. Okay, I'm going to add the logo because you always want to brand things. So I'm doing an overlay. Click on your own. And I have a logo from earlier I'm going to use instead of the one I just did. So this is another kind of simple. And since I use the same font, everything is branded and it looks very nice. I can, crop it a little bit more probably because that's a little sloppy. But now I have a branded image. And I do the before and after. Make sure you always change it to PNG. Okay, so that's that image. This is a good time to ask your questions. custom size for YouTube is 1280 by 720. Or if you're in Canva, it's going to be 16 by 19. Okay. So the last thing we're going to do is take out the background, and I'll try to make this quick because we went over time just a little bit. We're getting close to it. And I want to do the contest and everything. So in order to remove the background, there's two different ways. So you can either do design or you can do edit. And I'm going to show you the difference. So with design, I'm going to add an overlay, which is my image basically. This time it will be Michelle, oh, excuse me. We're going to call her Nicole Starr today. I don't want to use real names. So this is Nicole Starr. Okay, it is white, it's off-white, but so this one might be harder to see because you do want it to be transparent. So again, my trick for anytime I remove backgrounds is I add a color. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't use PicMonkey to remove backgrounds. I do show people because it's a tool. I use paint.net, which is also free. You can't go to paint.net, but I forgot the link. If you go to socialinina.com/paint.net, then it'll be a link to it. So I'm just kind of being honest because with that, you just click in the background and it will remove it. So I do have a YouTube video on that. So for now, since we are in PicMonkey, I'm going to show you how to do it here. So I add the pink in the background so I can tell the difference. I'm just going to click on the image and there is an eraser here. So the way the pink kind of helps is as I erase, things will turn pink. So I'm going to make the eraser size huge and the hardness all the way up when I first start because it's a lot easier, right? Okay. When you get closer, of course, you want to make it a little bit smaller. And you want to change this. Again, I'm doing this really, really quickly, but you just go around. And even if you mess up, I'm going to show you, I did that on purpose, but even if you mess up, you can go back just like the other ones with this second eraser and paint back in what's there. And again, I'm going extremely fast. This actually works pretty well, but for now I'm just going pretty fast. So I'm going to do something and I'm going to show you another way, this way, that if you just want to replace the background, it's a little bit easier. And I'm going to leave one side so you can see the difference. Okay, so that's about as much as I'm going to do right now. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go down to the themes, I believe it's called, sorry, textures. There's tons of textures that you can use. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Since her name is Nicole Starr, we're going to go with the starry, spacey one. There's a couple different ones. I'm going to use this one. And actually, now let's do this. Okay, and you kind of have to play around with the blends here, but I'm going to apply it here. And what you can do is choose, so here it's multiply. You can change different ones to see if it will come through. But if you click on her image, and I always forget which one works with this. So there's different things that you can do here where you kind of like replace it. And this one is a little bit harder to do here, but you can erase the original image. You're kind of doing it backwards. The only thing is with this one, you have to kind of play with the blend modes to make sure that it's blending well. So this way isn't like the ideal, but depending on the picture that you have, and I think I'm doing this backwards. actually. So I'm going to go to effect. Yeah. Okay. So again, you'll see that on the left and the right. See the right-hand side, I remove some things. It doesn't make a difference from the right to the left. But depending on the effect you want, this might work. I've used this to kind of make myself blend into brick before, or to add different things. And again, when you just change like the blend modes, it gives you different options. And you want to change the blend modes on the texture as well as the image. So because what you do is going to be, it's going to determine kind of how that overlay works. And you also can fade the picture. So I'm going to go to difference, and you get faded in so it looks like it kind of blends in a little bit more. So again, there's different effects that you can use. Can I pause for a minute? How long does it normally take you to create a new design, start to finish, with all the edits and touch-ups? That's a hard question. So when I'm doing like my daily posts, my social media posts, and all of that kind of stuff, it's under 5 minutes. If I'm going to do edits to images and things like that, I use my phone because there's tons of apps to do that. For these things, when I'm like combining two people or I'm doing something for a client, that can take a long time because I'm doing multiple versions of the same thing to show them different ones. So it can take 30 minutes, it could take an hour, you know, depending on what the design is. But if it's just like a daily post, I use the apps because they're automated, and it's not like I'm a photographer trying to do this, or that I really care if someone sees my zit. You know, I'm not doing it for myself. So it's kind of hard to determine that, Carmen, unfortunately. Monique, is the remove background feature only available under PicMonkey membership or free? Great question. The remove background is any overlay. So that's a free option. It's not something that's on the left-hand side. So anything that as long as you add, so again, I designed something, and as long as I add here, anything that you add as an overlay, the eraser is there. So, yep, that's a great question. Okay, let me just show you one other way to do it that's a little bit quicker. And I believe I have to edit the image for this one. So I'm going to do the same one. And I'm going to edit. What apps do you use for your phone? I'll do a blog post for that because I have a ton. Okay, so I have the picture here. And so when you're editing, just note the difference. I don't have, when I click on it, I don't have that eraser and things here. And this works even if you have things in the background. So it doesn't have to be white or black or anything like that. I'm going to go to the texture. And this time I'm going to pick a space texture. Okay. And so again, depending on your kind of blends and things like that, it will show up a different way. But this one you can clearly erase. So to me, this is easier if you are going to use some of the textures. Then just going to click over here real quick. This one's easier than deleting the background and replacing it, because now I'm just deleting the texture from her, and it blends in a lot more. And if you see, it looks like it's behind her and not on top of her, and it's very, very clear. So you just kind of delete. And it's the same principle that applies with everything else, where when you get to the edges, you want to, you know, kind of concentrate a little bit more, make it smaller. But again, if I accidentally do that, I can change and click on effect and then just paint it back. So that's a little bit easier. And so there are some fun ones, like there's bricks down there and metal, and there's all kinds of things. And the more you play around with it, the easier it gets. So just remember that when you are in edit mode, you don't have the eraser for the actual overlay or the person, but you do have more options for the texture. And then when you're in design mode, you have more options for the overlay and less for the texture. So I'm going to stop there for a second. Okay, so that's about as much as I can cover really quickly in an hour, a little over an hour. And I hope it's enough for you guys, because it's a lot of features in here and I want you to play around with it, but it's just kind of knowing what's there. I know someone asked about the comic features. There's all kinds of themes here, and I think when you're in edit mode, it works a little bit better. There's one of the modes that it works better and one of the modes that it doesn't. There it goes. So yeah, you could do the strength and different things like that. There's comic heroes. I could apply that. There's newspaper. You can add down here. There's like different things that you can add to it. So kind of play around with these. Okay. Okay, no sound. Da, da, da. Okay, are you guys all losing sound, or is that just one or two people? Can everyone hear me? Okay, everybody refresh. F5 if you're on Internet Explorer to refresh. If you're in Chrome, you could right click and do reload. Okay, so I just popped in an offer for you real quick. I'm gonna show you this really quick and then we're gonna move on to the contest. So stick with me here. And if you have questions, go ahead and type them in and I'll try to get to them for whoever wants to stay after that. Okay, let me know if you can hear me, if you see me, or my screen rather. Okay, everybody press pause and then play. I'm not sure what's going on with Webinar Jam, but it looks like it's stopping for you guys. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Can you hear me now? Let me know if you guys can see me. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it looks like Webinar Jam is freezing. Okay, so I don't know if later on this is going to pick up, but so for those who asked if I liked Webinar Jam, the answer is no, 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 because now it's freezing at the end of the webinar. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my program, hoping that you will be able to see this during the replay and that it's not actually going to freeze up during the replay. But I'm going to show you my desktop. So I do have a course coming up called Engage, Grow, and Profit from Zero to Raving Fans Real Quick. So basically what it is there's 3 different courses. As you can see, if you are either just starting out or you're having problems doing marketing to the right person, it starts with the right who, basically connecting with your ideal client avatar. Everyone always talks about having your target audience and who your target audience is, but your ideal client avatar is a lot more specific, and knowing that can help you create your blogs, create your Facebook ads, create your website, your logo, all of that, knowing who you're marketing to. So if you actually go through this course, we'll go through 3 different modules on finding out who they are, how to research what they need, and how to use that information to grow your tribe and get raving fans. The next course is Give Them What You Want, creating alluring opt-in offers. So if you want to know how to create ebooks or checklist or videos like I create, I do go over that in that course. The next one is Connect and Convert. So it's basically using GetResponse to create your, taking your freebies and actually sending them out, doing autoresponders, newsletters, all of that. So you can purchase each of those courses individually, or you can get all 3 of them for $49.95. So I will post that after the course, but for now, let's go to Facebook and we will be giving away the free contest. Excuse me, the free Facebook ads course. So I am going to go to my page. Ignore this for a little bit. Okay, and I posted a question. Everyone go ahead and answer the question, and I'll use a randomizer to select the answer for the winner. And I'm going to go ahead and end it there because it looks like people still can't hear me. So it was a great webinar. We made it almost to the end. So go ahead and post your questions and I'll try to answer them. And if it's not here, I'll do it on YouTube. I'll stick around and try to answer any questions that are posted. Okay, that's it. I hope you guys were able to hear the last part, because I am offering a course now for some other items. And if you're not in the Business Masterminds group now, go ahead and head over to Facebook, the Facebook group Business Masterminds, and I'll approve everyone. And thank you so much for coming. If you have questions, Nina@ninasimoneconsulting.com, or head over to my YouTube channel. Some of the questions that were asked are actually either in my Canva course or over on YouTube. So it's youtube.com/sociallynina. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.